Hi, this is Lisa Allen, and in this video you'll learn about some of the things that Google is looking for in backlinks right now. Now in 2011 and 2012 we saw major changes to the way Google looks at backlinks, which have massively affected the rankings of some sites. In particular, sites with too many of the same targeted keyword backlinks took a big penalty. So let's look at how you can avoid the over-optimization penalty and still get the rankings that you need for results. First, let's talk about branding. Now, Google recently has just fallen totally in love with branding. If you are a brand and they know who you are and they can identify you and link together all of your activities and tell whether you're an authority, then Google just really loves you. So one of the things that you need to do first is that you need to go into the search engine and start typing in your brand name. And if you type in your brand name and you start to see it in the choices in the drop down that Google gives you in the type ahead, then Google already knows who you are and you are a brand to them and a household name. So that's very good for you. Now, if you don't see your name in the offered choices, then you need to work a little bit harder on making yourself a brand. And one of the ways that you can do that is when you're doing your backlinks, use about 50% of the anchor texts as your brand name. So for instance, one of my brand names is Brandywine Jewelry Supply. So I would go out and build some links that said Brandywine Jewelry Supply or Brandywine Jewelry or Jewelry Supplies at Brandywine, just variations of my brand name. Then I would also make sure that I used rich snippets to give authorship to all of my materials that I'm doing in that niche. So they're all linked together and linked to my Google Plus profile. And you can find some more information about how to do that on the eBiz Hacker blog. There's another post that you'll find where I covered how to do that in detail. Now second, let's talk about limiting the money keywords. Sites that were hit with the penalty and absolutely lost their rankings and had most of their links de-indexed and that really suffered had more than 50% of commercial keyword anchors. And by commercial keyword, I mean keywords that somebody would be targeting in, say, AdSense or something. If it's a keyword that somebody would pay for, it's a commercial keyword. You should keep money keywords around 30% of your anchor text, but don't do all of the same keyword. Like say if I was targeting golf clubs, I shouldn't just put golf clubs everywhere, even in that 30% that I'm using. I should break it up a little bit with synonyms for golf clubs or longer tail keywords that have the words golf clubs in it, or things that are related to golf clubs that make sense in my niche. So that's what you need to do with the percentage that you're using actually of keywords. You use a much smaller percentage of your direct keywords when building backlinks. And this makes your profile look a lot more natural, which of course is what Google is always looking for. They don't want to be able to see that you're manipulating them because of course they want to be the master of the whole internet. So anytime that they do something that you want them to do, they're unhappy about it. So anyway, limit your money keywords to about 30% and use variations. Now next, let's talk about including untargeted anchors in your backlinks. You should build 20 to 25% of your links that have anchors like click here or just your website URL. You can also use like via and then your website name is another good variation. And you should also use variations of your URL to make the links look more natural, because even though you know the complete correct canonical URL for your site, other people who would link to you would not. So you don't want to make it look like you're linking to yourself, obviously. So use variations of your URL. You can leave off the www. Sometimes you can experiment with putting the trailing slash on or off. So if there's different variations of the ways that people could find that content, then obviously you should use that in your backlinks as well, so that they look like they're natural links. Another thing that you can do to really improve your rankings is to cross-link your pages internally. And to do that, you would find pages that have closely related content. Instead of duplicating your content and explaining the whole thing of a concept on each page that mentions that concept, you should mention and really outline that concept in depth on one place and then link from the rest of the pages in your website to that where it's appropriate. And you should make sure that the links also make sense in the context that they appear in, so don't put a link that's just kind of a pattern interrupt in the middle of a sentence where it doesn't really belong. Also, try and put anchors inside the article body instead of isolated in footers or sidebars. Links that are in footers or sidebars or nav menus tend to be a little bit discounted by Google. They don't really tend to give as much credence to anchors that are site-wide links. And you also need to consider relevance. You need to backlink from sites that have closely related topics to yours. So for instance, don't backlink from a site that is about bananas to your site about cars, because they are totally unrelated, and Google will see that and believe that that is a spammy link. And lastly, you need to be really consistent about the pace of backlinking that you're doing. You should keep up a fairly steady pace so that you're creating approximately the same number of backlinks from month to month. So just don't build 5 million backlinks in one month and then just absolutely do nothing the next. That pace should be kept steady because that's the way it would naturally occur, and so you're trying to give Google the signals that this is natural link building activity and not something that where you're manipulating the search engines. So that's it for this video on SEO in 2013 and backlink diversity, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to download your own copy of this checklist, you can get it for free at ebizhacker.com/blog/SEO-2013-backlink-diversity. So that's it for today, and I will talk to you again soon.